Hello and welcome. We are doing a series of interviews with Braincrack Games. Today we are talking to Dávid Turczi.
Good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is now.
Yeah. So we're talking about the game Venice, which is a very exciting game, which was a co-design with Andrej Novak, who people may know as the head of a different board game company.
We all like to work together.
Yeah, it's really good. So tell us a bit about Venice, David.
Yes, Venice is a long and exciting history. I want to say 2016, but it might have been 2017 because I'm terrible with years. When I was in Poland with Board and Dice, back then it was still called NSKN, and it was either Dice Settlers or the expansion for Dice Settlers, don't remember which one. And I was staying at Andrej's place, and one evening after dinner, he's like, hey, look, I designed this very cool mechanism. I've played it a couple of times with people, and they say, yeah, it looks smart, but nobody's having fun. What's wrong with it? What would you change? And he put a game in front of me, generic Roman city theme, and basically it was a grid of locations, and your meeples moved on the streets between the grids, and if you met with somebody else, you got minus points. If you delivered something from somewhere, you got plus points, and one of the locations gave you like Lords of Waterdeep style mission cards that if you get this and this there, then you get another special ability. Right. And I played the game and I went, okay, so instead of getting minus points, we should just eliminate somebody, because that will, people go, what the hell just happened? Whoever has the most meetings in a game is flat eliminated, because that will shake the game up. Second, if we're picking up and delivering goods, we should, pick up goods and deliver them, and that looks better if it's on a boat.
Yeah.
Therefore, how about instead of a generic Roman city, we put it in Venice? And the third big idea came 3 months later, after I rebuilt and trashed and rebuilt and trashed the game twice. One of the locations, like on his grid of 15 locations, one or two of the locations had a mechanism where the first person to go there places a token and gets a reward. And the second person to go there puts a token down, gets the reward, pushes the first guy front, and then the next time the person goes there, he gets the better reward.
Right.
And basically everything was boring in the game besides this one location and the completing the objectives. So I remember a phone call, I want to say 17 summer, but again, I'm terrible with years. It might have been 16. And hey, why don't we turn every location into this push track? And I rebuilt the game again. And at this time, this was a 3 to 5 player game, because in 2-player it doesn't work, because I will meet with you and
yeah.
that doesn't work. So who gets eliminated? And this was in the time when Teotihuacan was NSKN's big thing, and we were like, okay, this is not big enough to be a fancy Kickstarter like Exodus or Dark Ages, but it's not small enough to be a classic Euro, and it's 3 to 5 player. Nobody wants a 3 to 5 player crunchy Euro game. And so here I was sitting with a game co-designed with the head of the company, and he was not going to publish it. I was like, okay, do we just bin this project? I really like it. It's cool. We drive our little boats around and we place workers that advance on push tracks. Surely we have to get this game published. And he was like, you know what? Find somebody else. I'll help you. I'll play test and you can use my resources. And basically what happened was I went to 3, 4, 5 different fairly big publishers, and they all went, what? Euro pick up and deliver with elimination? That would never work. They tried it out. This works. But if I try to publish it, people will say, Euro pick up and deliver with elimination, that'll never work. I can't publish it. And then, in one of my London playtest groups, I used to live in London at the time, Fabio Lopiano was playtesting a prototype about building the walls of Dubrovnik. And I remember reading that it got picked up for publication. And I went to him, hey, Fabio, remember that game about the walls of Dubrovnik? It's a 3 to 5 player, short but complicated, highly interactive Euro game. And nobody's publishing those. Well, what did you do to it? And he said, well, I found this guy with Braincrack Games, and we sat together and we developed it, and we made a 1-player and a 2-player for it, and he made this brilliant art for it. And it's, it's not a big company, but I'm optimistic. And I was like, could you arrange a meeting?
Yeah.
So I went at Spiel, I want to say 2018, but again, I have no idea about which year is which. Might have been 17. And I went to Lewis, I sat down on the table, I set up the game, I was like, okay, I'm going to tell you your first 15 reasons why you won't sign this game. I've heard all of them. And I told him why not to sign the game. He's like, okay, do you want me to sign this game? I'm like, play it and tell me. He was like, yeah, I need a few months. Next Monday, there was an email in my postbox saying, I want to sign this.
Wow.
So finally, I found somebody crazy enough not to care about whether the game can be published, but rather ask the question, should this be published? Yeah. And yes, then we took a year to figure out the 2-player mode, to make the 5-player mode not take 3.5 hours. And there we were, I want to say UK Game Expo last year when we still had those things. Yeah. Finished game, Andre flew over to the UK, we worked a week on it together, everything super balanced, everything super works. And we put it to the public to play it. And I remember, I think it was the Polyhedron Collider crew, they played it, and we tend to, at the time, we tended to win the game around 60 to 100 points. One of them finished the game with -1 point. And they were like, I hate everything about this game. I see it's smart, I hate everything. Like, crap, we're in trouble. Not because he'll hate it, but because other people will hate it the same way. And then I remember in the summer, just before the Kickstarter, we have like a month left to go to send out the reviewer copies or something. And I was picking up Lewis, driving him up to London for a last chance to playtest the 2-player mode and finalize everything. And he gets into my car and says, you're gonna hate me. Why? I had an idea. Yes. What if there can be more than one boat in a port? I'm like, that just ruins the... Well, wait a second. We spent 2 days rebalancing the entire economy, and because of that, you could no longer be logged out of an action.
Very cool.
That's it. Everything changed the same as before, but if I wanted to go where you were, previously the game said, I can't. Now the game said, okay, then I get points for it.
Yeah, okay.
And that's it. And after that, okay, now that we know the game exists, now we can finally finish the 2-player game we've been sweating about for a year. I created this dummy boat that players alternatingly control, and if anybody meets with the dummy boat, they get a penalty, but the other player doesn't. And used my usual solo playtesting crew to create a bot for it, where the bot uses 2 dummy boats, and they are aggressively meeting with you.
Yeah.
and if you stay in positive, you have more penalty than scrolls, then you just lose regardless of your points. And then it went on Kickstarter, and then we were all ready for it to come out this year, but Lewis had the good fortune to welcome a new team member into his company in the form of his tiny baby. So which is why we're still waiting for the game to come. But this was the long and exciting journey on how you would be crazy to publish this game turned into a cool-looking, true to me, crunchy Euro.
Yeah, and it does look stunning as well. On the screen now you can see the little gondolas. If you go to the Kickstarter page, there was a recent update with like the actual 3D model of it. It looks very, very cool. So as the game's designer, like how much input do you get into kind of the graphic design and the components and things like that?
Well, I didn't need a lot of input, first of all, because I've seen Ragusa, and Ragusa looked fantastic, and I was just like, can the next one be looking like this too? Second, my prototype had 3D printed ships, but my resources were tiles, so I had like little holes to stick them in, and Louis hated the sticking the cardboard in, so I was like, yeah, this is gonna be I'm gonna design a new 3D model, and this is gonna be cubes. And Louis is a graphic designer by
Yeah.
trade, so he can do very pretty things by himself, and he hires a very good artist. I forgot his name. I do apologize. Who made both Fergusa and Venice beautiful. So I did like there are games where I want to complain about everything and point out everything to the publisher how they could be doing, and sometimes they let me. But with Louis, it after I learned to trust him that when he's complaining about the game, he's right.
Yeah.
And he learned to trust me that when I say you can't change that to that, then we shouldn't. But once we got the common language, then stuff like how does it look, he's great at it. I don't need to tell him otherwise.
That's cool. One of my favorite pick up and deliver Euro games is much lighter, I think, was Cinque Terre. But one of the most annoying things about that was little trucks in Italy going around northern Italy.
That's where I am right now.
Oh, right. Yeah. So it was one of the most annoying things. It came with these little trucks, and you were picking up and delivering cubes, but the cubes didn't fit on the trucks. Like it was.
It was part of my initial design. After half an hour,
Yeah.
whatever we're carrying has to fit on the boat.
Yeah. This was it's a few years old now. It's a Rio Grande game. So I don't know why. They just literally needed to make the trucks like a millimetre wider, and you could have fit them on, because it was just a bit of a weird thing. Someone actually made an Etsy thing, so you could actually clip on this
Well,
little...
nobody will need to Etsy anything with Venice. It
Yeah.
comes with the full Braincrack package.
Very good. And I'd say, we are now about a year, 6 months, 7 months? I don't know. Something into the decade of Turczi.
Yes, Venice was the forerunner. Roman Roll and Venice was my two new games last year, both of which are coming out now. But yes, this year has definitely been a next level event.
Yeah. And you're definitely getting kind of a reputation for these kind of heavier Euros that have like a ton of theme in them as well. Like, where would you say Venice stands kind of weight-wise within your games?
Venice is probably... It's easier to learn than Die Settlers, but a good player can hammer it home a lot more.
Okay.
So if you're not gonna get deep into it, then it's my lightest Euro, but there is still plenty meat to it.
Good.
So yeah, I would rate it in the same category as base Die Settlers, comparing it to my other stuff.
Very cool. And did you get to go to Venice as part of your research?
I went to Venice the year before independently, but yeah, and I've been there before. So, but no, I still haven't been on a gondola. So
okay.
There should have been a special pledge level where one person can play £1,000 and they can go on a two-person embracing gondola ride with me. But for some reason, Louis didn't do that.
There should have definitely been a photo shoot with you with a copy of the game, like the Kickstarter header or something. I don't know.
It's never too late.
Yeah, I went to Venice a few years ago. I was surprised how much walking I did. Like, just walk everywhere.
It could have been worse. You could have been swimming.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it definitely could have been worse. And we were just hearing there that it's been kind of a few years now since you actually designed the game. Certainly the meat of the game, probably 3 or 4 years ago. But do you kind of go back and play your designs once games have kind of reached their final stage and been published? And
what I tend to do is play them a lot at the inception phase, then let other people complain and tweak, and I just look at the numbers, and then I play an approval game, and then I play once when it comes out.
Yeah.
And then after that, if my friends request it, good. If they don't, once in a while I show them off, but
Yeah.
If I need to be entertained, I pull off the brasses and the Lacerndas.
Okay. Fair enough. The game is still available for pre-order.
Definitely.
The address is on the screen. So what would you potentially say to people if they're kind of maybe interested in what they've heard so far, maybe a bit on the fence, not sure. Kind of how would you describe the elevator pitch? I guess it would be, wouldn't it?
Well, the elevator pitch is pick up and deliver Lords of Waterdeep, where you can sneakishly eliminate one other player. Or for mechanism-oriented fans, I tend to say it's a worker placement engine building game where your engine is on a shared board where you have to move between them on paths. Because that's what ultimately those worker push tracks are. They are an engine, built-up engine. Like in this game, I use these 5 buildings for an engine. In that game, I use those 5 buildings for an engine. So that is what the cool bit to me. And the trick is always that if somebody is scared of my heavy games, then this game is not as heavy. Whereas if somebody is holding back, saying, "Oh, but I just love those heavy games," then don't worry, it's heavy enough.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's the pitch as always.
Great. Sounds really cool. And we were sort of talking a bit there, like it's got quite a wide player range, obviously from 1 up to 5. Like, does it change much at the different
At
players?
5, 3 and 4 is the core concept, but because it's a there is enough space on the board, especially now with the multiple boats can dock at the same rule. We had a problem at 5 player, you could not move anywhere. That problem is now fixed. Therefore, at higher player count, it's more dynamic, and overall you have slightly fewer actions in the whole game because the game clock is not linear. But if nobody in your group is APing, then this game will actually neatly support and enjoyably push 5 player in, I want to say, hour and a half. Again, if somebody APs their brain offense is there for 2.5 hours, that's not really my fault.
That happens to any game that can have AP.
Yes. It's longer than Ragusa, but because it has more of a run out.
Yeah.
As Ragusa is a boom, solve this problem right now kind of game. So it's heavier than Ragusa, but not by a magnitude.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And do you think people that, because hopefully there's going to be a trilogy or more?
Oh, yes. I happen to know that there will be a 3rd one.
Okay.
Not mine. I might come back to design a solo mode for it.
Sure.
Because Ragusa had the solo mode, but the 3rd one might not. I don't know. So Luis promised to bring me back for a solo mode if needed, but I'm not the one designing the 3rd one.
Okay, cool. But do you think, do they work well as a set? Like, if you liked Ragusa, will you potentially like Venice, or are they pretty standalone?
I would say they're definitely standalone, but they kind of fill the same hole in a game collection, like the same, what kind of game are we playing tonight kind of question.
Yeah.
They answer yes to the same kind of situation. One thing I would say is, depends on what you liked or disliked about Ragusa, because some people love the condense right up in your faceness of Ragusa. Venice accomplishes that more of a burn, whereas some people complained that Ragusa is a puzzle to solve, as in how do I do it better than the others, whereas Venice has a bit bigger variability based on what missions come out and how the buildings relate to each other. So I would say it's more traditional Euro compared to Ragusa.
Mm-hmm.
Ragusa is more one of its kind, which is both a blessing and it goes both ways. So I'm hoping that nobody will come away from Venice saying, "Why did you do this?" So it's not super heavy Euro, so it's not gonna go against the likes of Tawantinsiu or my other big ones, but
cool.
Expect some kind of basic meatiness from me.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Well, thank you so much for your time. I know you are a very, very busy man somewhere in Italy with
an unspecified location,
slightly dodgy internet, but we made it work, and it's all good.
Well, all thanks to my girlfriend's hotspot, who's also the proofreader of the rulebook. So this interview and this game wouldn't have happened without her.
That's awesome. So if you are interested, please go and pre-order the game. You can also win a copy. I'll give you the details at the end of this interview of how you could win a copy of Venice. These are a series of interviews. We are also going to be talking to Fabio about Ragusa, and we're going to be talking to Lewis just about Braincrack and the wide variety of games they've got in their catalogue of games. So do look out for those interviews as well. But for now, thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you again, David, and we'll see you all soon.
See you soon.